Collect requirements is our second of 6 processes in the scope knowledge area. It is a planning process group process. It follows plan scope management. It precedes define scope. What we're doing in collect requirements is we are essentially trying to figure out what exactly we need to do in the project. Some think this is an IT project process. I heard a project manager once say, he didn't agree with this being in the project management framework because this was an IT process. Now, I'm going to take the position, if you order pizza and you determine how thick is it, where does it get delivered, and what all do you want on top of it, I'm going to say that's requirements. So, so you can be very formal, you can be very informal, or anywhere in between those two. It just depends on what's needed. So we're looking at the high-level scope of the requirements from a project perspective that are defined in the charter. We're using our scope and requirements management plan to figure out what our requirements documentation needs to look like. So there's a number of tools and techniques we could use. Expert judgment, sometimes I think of it as common sense, is a good one. Brainstorming, there are no bad ideas with brainstorming. You throw everything out, you see what sticks, so to speak. You could interview stakeholders. You could do focus groups to see what people like and don't like. You could use questionnaires like open-ended or close-ended to try to figure out what people like or dislike. Benchmarking could be done, where you compare what you're trying to do to a previous version or a competitor's version of what you're attempting to accomplish. Mind mapping can be done to break things down into pieces and organize them. And then facilitation is a good general technique that's going to be used with everything I just described, as far as to move it along and get to where you've got a requirements document, and where applicable, a traceability matrix. A traceability matrix might be new to some of you guys. If you have a need for this, you're going to know it. And what I generally have seen is these things are customized. There's not just a standard template that you pull out and use. But like when we write a book, we have a traceability matrix that we use with over 600 items that we basically trace back to the specific chapters they could show up in, and were they applicable in those chapters, and if yes, what's the test look like for them? And then that way, if there's any clarification needed, we can trace things back to the source and resolve any confusion or conflict. So anyway, coming out of this process, we have requirements documentation and a traceability matrix. This process follows plan scope management, and it is immediately before defined scope, which gives us a scope statement.